The Mystara project is proud to present Part 9 of the Lore of Mystara series. In this video we shall cover the period from 2500 BC to 2001 BC. By 2500 BC, the ice sheets have finally receded from the northern reaches region. Gnomes and old dwarfs migrate east into the mountains and hills of the northern reaches. The Valoin gnomish clan migrates to the Hardanger ranges. Grunland started to be referred to as Vulcania, due to the intense volcanic activity of the region. The Grunland elves have forgotten most of their magic and their Blackmoor technology has begun to fail. A second separatist group migrated north, including the Belkades, Trudel and Shialia clans, plus what will become Atzian's clan and the Icevale clan. The hidden city of Windreach was founded by dragons in the caldera of a tall, extinct volcano in the Wormsteeth Mountains of Norwold. The Eldar also settled in the city. The Taimora, of Neither descent, ventured south into the lowlands from their mountain refuge as the ice sheets receded. They settled the fertile plains and sea cliffs north of the Sea of Dread. Ilsundal's migration made the dangerous journey across the Strait of Isonda in ships built by the Meditor and Verdia clans, and reached the arm of the Immortals Peninsula. The tribe strayed from the main migration to seek refuge in a land where no one would find them. They had lost their best members on the long and deadly journey. The survivors sought peace, prosperity, and an end to the long journey. They settled in the high, desolate Neandan mountains of the Immortals' arm. The hunter, Eril, sighted a wondrous spire amidst golden clouds of the sunset. She scaled the mountains and headed toward the spire and found that she could walk on the clouds. Winds carried the cloud up and away from the Neandan mountains. For days she heard voices mocking her. She started to feel colder and found breathing difficult as the cloud gained altitude. Exhausted, she eventually passed out. Eril eventually woke up to food and magical warmth. For days she heard laughter and voices speaking a foreign tongue. In time the voices became friendlier and she began to understand them. They told Eril that she had entered the air kingdom of fairy. Through touch she made out the shape of the invisible fairies. She learned their traditions and history. In time she became able to feel their breeze and smell their scent to the point of being able to distinguish individuals. The onslaught of more adaptable races has reduced the ancestor Rakasta breeds to near extinction. Sometime between BC 2500 and BC 1000, the Immortals Ka and Bastet transport the remainder of the cave Rakasta and Rakastodon fatalis to the hollow world equatorial forests and grasslands. By 2410 BC, the Grunland elves had forgotten all magic, and their heating devices were failing. Ordana refused to assist saving them, as they had strayed too far from nature. Ka the Preserver transported a village of Grunland elves to a remote, fog-shrouded volcanic valley in southern Iceria in the Hollow World. He altered their Blackmoor devices so that they would only function within the valley. In BC 2400, a great volcanic eruption destroyed the elven civilization of Grunland. A few surviving elves became nomadic hunters wielding no magic. The Hatwa clan took refuge in the ice peaks to the north, just surviving on little food. Hyboria continues to warm up. Some beastmen migrated from Hyboria to Urzud in the upper Borean Valley, now vacant after the destruction of the Blackmoor civilization. Other beastmen migrated to the North Pole. The beastmen began to breed true as the first humanoids, kobolds, goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, bugbears, ogres, and trolls. One tribe of beastmen at the North Pole followed a charismatic leader who was inspired by Ka to migrate north, eventually ending up in the Hollow World. Ka altered those beast men to continue to breed true, to preserve their original culture. The Antalians' early Bronze Age culture of Norwold was now very distinct from its Neither origins, including its language. The Antalians spread north along the Norwold coast from what will become the Heldan freeholds to the Great Bay. Sometime between 2400 BC and 2000 BC, the evil giant Morag's plan of conquering Mystara, Mystara, and the sun was progressing well. But then Zaka, a heroic son of an immortal, defeated Morag by trickery and stole the mind gem containing his soul. The mind gem exploded. Without his soul, Morag hardened and became a mountain of iron. Sometime between BC 2400 and BC 1750, Donar was born among the Antalians of Norwold. Donar became a warrior chieftain. Prompted by the immortal Wotan, Donar embarked on the path of the Paragon in the sphere of energy, sponsored by Ixion. He ventured to the outer plane of Niflheim where he retrieved the war hammer artifact, Mjolnir, from King Thrym of the Frost Giants. Donar then hired dwarven smiths to craft iron gloves so he could wield Mjolnir. He then challenged 7 giant leaders, one of each type except sea giants, and an archmage to duel him. He won all these duels, completed the path of the Paragon and became the immortal Tor, patron of honorable and courageous warriors. Sometime between BC 2400 and BC 1650, the siblings Frey and Freya were born among the Antalians of Norwold. They progressed as fighters who fought for noble causes, attracting the attention of Wotan. Wotan sponsored them as the first brother and sister team on the path of the epic hero in the sphere of thought. The siblings quested for the Sorona, a crown of rulership among the Antalians that had gone missing. It was eventually recovered on the outer plane of Muspelheim from the fire giants. Next they destroyed an entropic artifact created by Loka. Finally they each trained successors to fight for noble causes. Their successors reached 12th level and became chieftain and chieftainess of their tribe. Next the siblings engaged dwarfs to create weapons. Frey received a sword that could fight on its own, called Sumabranda. Freya received the sword Trungva. The pair used these weapons in many battles and they became legendary weapons. They achieved immortality upon successfully reweaving the roots of Yggdrasil. They then gifted their swords to their successors to carry on their work. Sometime between BC 2400 and BC 1650, Loka was born among the Antalians of Norwold. He grew up to be a trickster and a student of fire-based magic. His fiery arcane abilities earned him the sponsorship of Rathanos on the path of the Paragon in the sphere of energy. However, while questing for the lost sunstone of Rathanos, he was swayed by the smooth whisperings of Thanatos to embark on the path of the Antiparagon in the sphere of entropy. Thanatos saw the potential of Loka's ability to charmingly deceive. Loka's quest was to trick a follower of Odin into destroying a minor artifact of the sphere of thought. For his testimony, Loka tricked 8 arch-wizards into dueling each other to the death. He then achieved immortality in the sphere of entropy as the patron of betrayal and deceit. After BC 2400, Ilsuondal's migration crosses the Yalu Strait, from the central arm of the Immortals to Orc's Head Peninsula. The elves landed on a land of plains and light forests, north of the dark jungle. Apart from the odd bear and wild cat, this land appeared to hold no dangers. Yet Ilsundal and the elven seers decided it was not their destiny to found a new homeland here. Ilsundal then led the elves through the forests of the Arania. Some elves decide to settle, but the majority keep heading east. Some elves then settled throughout the savage coast in the years leading up to 2310 BC, coexisting with the Los Guardianos Oltecs there, but not interacting with them. In BC 2300, Ilsundal's migration headed toward the Great Waste. On their way, the second elven migration that had sailed from Devania arrived on Brune and joined them. Whilst the majority of the elves decided to continue on through the Great Waste, the Shialia clan decided to settle in the rainforest of the Serpent Peninsula. Ordana inspired the Verdia elves and Kalitha inspired the Medita elves to leave Ilsundal's migration, to find their own homeland. They rejected the Serpent Peninsula as it was too humid. Instead they migrated east along the barren plain coast. As a reward for his outstanding service, Idu, also known as Ixion, granted his herald Gildesh, the monster ruler of the Shadus, a group of loyal followers to rule. The Induks, winged minotaurs, are created on the fertile lands of the western Orc's Head Peninsula. They are ruled by priest king Gildesh I. Sometime between BC 2300 and BC 2100, the elf Atzian is born. If before BC 2200, he was born during the migration across the Great Waste. If born after BC 2200, he was born in the southern highlands. Sometime between BC 2300 and BC 1570, Loki, under the name Bosdogan, commenced influencing an Oltec-descended tribe, west of the Black Mountains, the Huleans. Soon the Huleans believed that he was their creator and taught them how to farm. Bosdogan then left them, promising to return in a time of need. The Huleans started helping neighboring cultures by conquering and assimilating them. Sometime between BC 2300 and AC 450, Loka lost a bet with Donar, and was forced to plant flowers in a plain of the central Savage Coast. Loka chose to plant amber lotus flowers, which induce sleep. The region was then called the Plain of Dreams. Needing greater territory to support their growing numbers, the Gundurim, or fire giants, invaded the lush valleys and forests of the Bromdignag giants, sometime between BC 2300 and AC 835. They overran the Bromdignag's capital after numerous casualties on both sides. The Bromdignags fled to the mountains, where the immortals took pity on them, and built them cloud castles on which to live in safety. Thereafter they were called cloud giants. In 2250 BC, Ilsundal's migration moved into the Sind Desert for a short while, but quickly moved on to more hospitable lands. In BC 2200, a branch of the Elven migration left Ilsundal's migration whilst passing through the Great Waste, and headed to the southern frozen valleys of the highlands, where they settled. These elves included the Belcadese and Trudel clans, plus what would become Atzian's clan and the Icevale clan. They hunted with sleds, daggers, bows and spears. White dragons were prevalent in the highlands. Tanagoro colonists on outrigger canoes settled the Serpent Peninsula. After encountering the Shialia elves, they agree to stick to the coasts whilst the elves keep to the inland forests. But inland, the elves encountered the Karimari of Ulimwengu and learnt of their ancient land. They agreed not to trespass and so were forced to live closer to the Tanagoro. Sometime between BC 2200 and BC 1470, Hulean northern expansion halted when they encountered Midlands barbarians. Hulean teachers and philosophers of Bosdogan were killed by the barbarians. The barbarians then began raiding northern Hule. Bosdogan returned and instructed his people to be patient and taught them crafts of war to defend their northern border. His most loyal teachers became holy men. Bosdogan then left. Sometime between 2200 BC and 1271 BC, Hule prospered and expanded in all directions, but north, for centuries. Hule founded a colony in Devania, but it failed. Having wandered along the south coast of Brune through the barren plain, the lands of the descendants of the Azkans, the Malfegi swamp, and the woods south of the Black Spires, the Verdia and Medita elven clans reached the Dimrak forest in BC 2100. The Verdia clan settled in the southwestern woods of the Dimrak forest. The Medita clan settled the coastal region of the Dimrak forest to the south of the Verdia clan. Ilsundal's elves reached the elven land of Ganalith, now known as Vendar. Ilsundal's elves decided not to stay in Ganalith and pressed on through the Great Northern Wildlands. From the Great Northern Wildlands, the elves headed west and crossed the Borean River Valley, and then the Yalu River. They then headed northwest and crossed the Endworld Spine. Emerging from the mountains in BC 2100, the elves are surprised to find a beautiful forest about 100 miles in diameter, on the Sea of Brune's coast. Their long journey ends as they decide this will be their new homeland, called the Sylvan Realm. Ilsundal finishes writing the 48 volumes of the Heimslide, which translates as the Way of the Land. Ilsundal learnt of the path of the Paragon and was sponsored to embark on it by an unknown sphere of energy immortal. He recruited 6 apprentices to assist him to create a tree of life to act as a relic for the Sylvan Realm elves. He also oversaw the transformation of the roughly 100-mile diameter forest into an elven land, linked to the stars and the 4 elements, and populated with fairies, centaurs, treants, and unicorns. Gnomes spread from the central, to the southeast, Ultan Tepe Mountains. Taimoruns commenced trading with the Medita elves. Sometime between BC 2100 and BC 1920, Irindel was born in the Sylvan Realm. Sometime between BC 2100 and BC 1751, a group of Aquarendi discovered the Medita and Verdia elves living in the forests of southeast Brune. Overjoyed after centuries of lamenting the fall of elven civilization during the Great Rain of Fire, The Aquarendi migrated north to inhabit the waters bordering their land-based cousins. This concludes Part 9 of the Lore of Mystara series, covering the second half of the 3rd millennium before the crowning of the first Thyacian emperor.